Good Monday morning. We had a great weekend. The Mets, the Yankees, and the Knicks did not have great weekends. So even though I'm feeling pretty good, I've got that, what do they call that? The biker's high, the runner's high this morning. I am feeling tremendous after our 40-mile bike tour. I am also pissed off still from Saturday about the Knicks. And, of course, what happened yesterday to the Mets. And the Yankee fan has got to be absolutely livid, too, having that game completely under control, up 6-0 with Garrett Cole on the mound and somehow losing it. Could have taken 2 out of 3 from the Rays, started feeling good about things. And the Mets, you know, we're doing our thing yesterday in the afternoon. I check and I see, all right, Mets are up 3-1. They'll be able to win this game. I know they're not scoring a ton of runs, but they'll be fine. Bang, 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 and the Rockies just sledgehammer them the rest of the game. So there's going to be a lot of complaining today, but we do have a huge Game 4 down in Miami where this series has to be tied, and they have to play better, the Knicks, than they did in that last game because that was terrible. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
You know what, G? I'm just like you. I got that biker's high after yesterday's bike tour. Thank you to everybody that supported our team, Boomer. 115 riders was amazing. A beautiful day, 5-borough bike tour, and Bike New York did a great job. And certainly was very fulfilling, to say the least. There's no question.
Oh, look at this. Jeez.
Yeah, there you are, Biggs. Look at that.
Oh, man. They really got some good footage there.
They do have good footage on CBS Sports Network. I know that they were around us pretty much the whole day.
So I knew those guys. They introduced themselves to me in the beginning, and one guy I know had the GoPro, and then I had no idea that the footage was going to be that good. I didn't know exactly what was going on. Look at this.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man, there's Captain Dave and Sal Graziano. There you are. Look at that.
Yeah, there we are.
And there's Chris Portera, who's killing it out there.
That's through the park right there.
Yeah, this is
so that was a great.
Pretty good.
The whole thing was just awesome. And a big thank you to everybody that participated for Team Boomer. We raised close to $200,000.
Look at you, man. That is
amazing.
Look at the big visor on there. Pretty tremendous stuff. Wow, almost $200,000 for this.
Maybe even more. We'll see what happens by the end of the week. We'll see. But Eddie's sister showed up.
Yes.
And I knew it was Eddie's sister because are you guys twins?
They look very, yes.
I mean, you guys look very, you had the same hair, the whole thing.
Yeah, she went gray early, just like me in her 20s.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you guys look like twins. But she showed up. And she killed it as well. You guys took that ferry back. I took the C Street back.
Oh, okay. The fast one?
The fast one, and goes right to downtown New York here on the west side.
Oh, okay.
So it was good. But anyway, all of that being said, I have to say that performance by the Knicks on Saturday was about as disappointing a performance as I can remember, and I guess we can go back to the Atlanta series where they were no-show pretty much in 4 games. And this was a game that Miami didn't shoot well either. And it was almost like, and I was reading, I forget whose article I was reading after the game, what their perception of the game was. And it felt like the Knicks were bullied. And, you know, we knew that this series was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be physical. We knew that if Jimmy Butler was healthy, he's the difference maker for Miami. We don't really have a Jimmy Butler. We have Jalen Brunson for sure. But it goes to show you that Jimmy Butler is a star and Julius Randle is not. I mean, he's good. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But Jimmy Butler is a star. Like, he's a guy that can take over a game. And when he is healthy and he is playing and the Knicks are not shooting well, I mean, you know, this is what happens. This is what it looks like. And Jimmy Butler looked like he had been shot out of a cannon, like he had 5 days off.
Well, he did. He had 5 days off, and he looked great, and his ankle didn't seem to be a problem at all, and really was. I mean, the Knicks, nobody could hit a shot, especially a three-pointer. Jalen Brunson wasn't able to hit a single one of them. And then you started to get the I'm going to try too hard to save things Julius Randle, where he's out of control, and he's going up out of control at the basket, and he's throwing his arms up, and he's looking for calls, and just ends up being a mess. And he can't do anything about it. Now, Eric Spoelstra has a history, sort of like Bill Belichick does, of being able to take the best players out of a series, his opponent's best players out of a series or out of a game. I mean, just look at what he was able to do to Giannis and the Bucks, and no one was able to pick up the slack, and he's been able to do that for the most part with Jalen Brunson and in the games that Julius Randle has played. And let's not forget that Game 2, they were getting beat solidly for 3.5 quarters in that game. So most of this series, the Miami Heat have been in total control. From basically the second half of game one on, they have played very, very well and much better than the Knicks, and it's scary because they look like right now a team that is built for the long playoff run. Defensively, hitting the big shots, getting contributions from their role players in key situations like Strus and Vincent. And they're without Tyler Hero, too, by the way, which is a huge loss for them. So I am concerned. I don't think that things can turn an NBA series like they can an NHL series. Like you see the New Jersey Devils all of a sudden decide to wake up in game threes of series. I don't know if this is going to be the same story for the Knicks, but I'm not going to count them out yet. But you go back to the Hawks series, I am having flashbacks of that. I'm having flashbacks.
Well, this is why you have Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart here, so you don't go back and have flashbacks. And quite frankly, if there were ever a game that I would say is going to tip a series one way or the other, it's this one right here. It's tonight. The Knicks have got to win this one. They had to go down there and they had to get a split. And unfortunately now, game 3, they look like dog poop, and now they have to come back but the Knicks have been so like wacky inconsistent this year, where they have had games like they've had on Saturday, and then they come back and they beat somebody like you would have never expected them to beat the next time out.
Yeah, it's the scoring that's an issue, especially with the defense and the scheme and the zone that Spoelstra has thrown at them. This really, Tom Thibodeau's done a great job this year. And I know some people had a problem with his limited rotation and whatever. And, oh, by the way, we might see Evan Fournier tonight. That's another thing that we have to talk about. That is a possibility. But he has to counter this. This is a huge deal. I really believe that, what we have seen from Spoelstra is really, really confusing and frustrating the Knicks. And Tom Thibodeau's got to figure it out. And then the other end of that is he can figure it out all he wants, but they got to hit shots. R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson can't be clanging threes in the beginning of this game while Miami builds a 10, 12, or more point lead. And that's exactly what happened. And they go down there, they take these shots. They're not good enough to run up the court, stop, and pop a three within the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. They're not the Golden State Warriors. And when they do that, then, back the other way, here comes Miami, then 7-0 run, 12-2 run, and then the game's over. So they need to focus more on who they are offensively, and then hopefully they're just better from three.
Yeah, well, I think the Julius Randle trying to take the game over thing.
Oh, God, when he starts doing that, it's the game's over. You just know it.
Yeah, because this is what happened in the Atlanta series.
Yep.
And it's somebody... Well, again, Jalen Brunson's here for a reason, and he got them to this point.
Well, he wasn't any good in this game.
I know he wasn't any good in this game. I know that. But what I'm saying is that he's here for a reason, and he's here to settle things down. He's here to lead the team offensively, and he's here to do the things that he had been doing all year long, and that whether it be the mid-range jumpers, getting into the lane and the fall-away jumpers and finding open guys. So I'm not. This is a defining moment for this group right now.
Yeah. Well,
this is a game that they cannot if they lose this game, to me the series is over.
Oh yeah, especially with the way that Miami has played. It's not like this was a close game 3. It didn't even feel like they had much of a shot late in game 1 as well. So yeah, if they end up losing this one and losing it in the way anyway, close to the way they lost game 3, then yeah, I feel like the series would be over at that point because they wouldn't be good enough. So Julius Randle, if he gets off to a good start and then he ends up consistently playing well, then I'm not worried about him. It's when they start falling behind and then he gets frustrated and then he goes nuts, and CBS Sports Network just put together that package of him where it's just, it's shots that he's missing. He's too strong up to the hoop. He's turning to the officials. He's all frustrated. He's running back on defense, and he's clamoring, and he's talking. It's just that one right there. It's over and over. It's the same stuff. It's like he is the exact opposite of what you want when you're behind. Like what you want is that when we see the great Jalen Brunson is that calming influence and someone's like, hey, everything's okay. Julius Randle's like, oh, my God, we got to do something about this. Give me the ball. And it just turns out to be a mess. So I don't want to see that anymore. He is such a key to this series. Like, if he plays well and the scoring comes from him, they're going to win the series. If we get what we got in Game 3 from him, then they've got no shot, and they might be out in 5.
That's the Hawks, Julius Randle, right there. But I'm not going to blame it all on him. I mean, the other guys, R.J. Barrett was terrible too.
Sure.
I think it was like a minus 32 or something.
It's disgusting.
It was ridiculous. So I would think if there's, this is where Thibodeau has got to basically plant the flag and say, look, guys, we got bullied. We got pushed around. And I think I think they'll come out and they'll play well tonight. And I think you're also right when you talk about Julius Randle. If he gets off to a good start, he hits his first 3 shots or something, whether they're mid-range shots, 3-pointers or whatever, it seems to kind of coexist with them winning.
Yeah.
Because if he gets off to a bad start or he doesn't touch the ball and doesn't score, then all of a sudden he becomes frustrated. And then he goes wacky on us.
Yep.
So that's I would think that getting off to a good start is going to be really the key tonight, because from start to finish on Saturday, it was like a frustrating game. It was frustrating to watch. It was frustrating because the Miami Heat had the lead from the get-go.
Yeah.
And they held it the whole game. How many times has that happened in the NBA?
Well, not a ton. You at least get a run where you feel like they have a shot. The Knicks really never did. I mean, I remember, hearing, I think, at one point, and the Knicks pull within 13. When it was like a big deal that they got within
10,
13.
I will say this, that Philadelphia was that close to, going down 3-1 in the series to Boston.
Yep.
That close.
Yep.
And, Boston holds on to the ball a little bit too long. Smart hits a shot that would have won the game for them, but it was after the clock expired. So it just goes to show you that, Philadelphia, even with Embiid back on the court, hasn't been playing great, but they fought and they got this thing to 2-2 now. And that's kind of like what the Knicks have to do tonight. I don't care if it goes into double overtime, triple overtime, quadruple overtime. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just score one more point.
Yeah, and I said that I thought this series was going to go 7, so I'm not at this point going to bail on that. For it to go 7, they were going to have to split in Miami most likely. So if the Knicks win this and then go back for a Game 5 at home, that's great. But it's just the way that they played that now has me scared. Nobody played. You couldn't point to a single person on that roster that played well. And now you got Emmanuel Quickly and an injury. And I know that Tom Thibodeau was asked about this just the other day about, are we going to see Evan Fournier? And he said, everything is on the table. I mean, you're going to dust this guy. And I understand that you're short players, but you're going to dust this guy off. Who is now? Miami's not a really fast team. They're not up and down. You see the way that they play, so it's not like he's going to get crushed out there. But I mean, I know he's a veteran.
He's not a physical player,
but
he's definitely not a physical player.
Are we going to sit here tomorrow and be like, man, the presence of Evan Fournier from 3, if he ends up playing, was the difference in this game? Is that possible for him, who hasn't played in so long and has been one of the big free agent busts of the last 20 years for the Knicks, to come out in this series and actually be a factor? Is that possible tonight?
Do you remember what happened the last time we saw him this year?
Yeah, was that the last time? I know one of the times we saw him.
No, where he had significant playing time.
He did, right. And he came in, he had a great game.
And he had a great game. Yeah. So who knows?
I guess.
He is a 3-point shooter. I'm assuming he's still practicing that.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I
don't even want to spend any time on him, but I just.
Well, we're gonna because if he ends up playing, it's going to be a huge deal. I mean, he's going to get minutes. He's going to shoot from 3. They don't really have enough 3-point shooting to compete with the best teams in the NBA. And if he's on, that's something he can provide. I just don't. I mean, I know he's been around for a while. I just don't know how you go from sitting on the bench for so long throughout the entire postseason, then getting up and going into one of these games in the midst of this physical postseason series and being a factor. It's very difficult. Now, if he ends up accomplishing it, then hats off to him and great job. But that's got to be tough.
Of course it's got to be tough. But you know what? He ain't tired. I can tell you that.
That's
been
true.
Sitting around doing nothing.
This is the ultimate load management. That's what Tom Thibodeau should say. He's like, you know what? This was all load management. This was not benching. This was load management. And now he's healthy and he's fresh and he's ready to go.
Speaking of load management.
Yeah.
see Gerard Gallant get fired?
Yes, I
Boom,
did.
see you.
Yeah.
And then I say they mutually parted ways.
Yeah, sure they did.
No, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
This was an all-in year, man. This was an all-in year, and whatever happened, it's amazing just how the Rangers will just absolutely cut bait immediately.
Well, it's a trend in the NHL. If you don't get the job done, you got high expectations, then see you later. And apparently, if Chris Drury and Gerard Gallant got into a scuffle or a verbal argument, rather, at the end of Game 4, I believe.
They did.
Then, that's the GM, and he's making these decisions. And they, ended up losing to a cross-town rival, cross-city rival, in the New Jersey Devils, and they played lifeless in a couple of those games and really weren't even competitive.
Game 4 at home, you lose the Game 3, which was, and I will agree with Gerard Gallant, that Game 3 was a great game. That was a great game. That was a series changer. That saved the Devils' season, just like I think yesterday saved the Devils' season. But at the end of the day, for the other team, for them to come out and lose Game 4 and play the way that they did, we all felt like they just did not play well, and they couldn't beat Akira Schmid. And then to have that Game 7 where there was a no-show and you had some of your best guys have their worst games in the biggest spot of the season. And, when you think about the amount of money that the Garden generates for these playoff games, both Knicks and Rangers, like, the coaches have got to understand, like, there is a financial aspect to all of this behind the scenes. And the Garden makes, millions for a home game. You can imagine what a Knick and a Ranger home game in the playoffs pulls in.
Oh, of course.
It's insane.
And also I saw Molly Walker, who came in here, started the postseason last year, of course, covers the Rangers locally. Is she write for the Post?
Yes, yeah.
So Molly Walker tweeted out that the exit interviews with the players had a lot to do with the future of Gerard Gallant, and it seemed like that factored into the firing. So it didn't seem like the players had a lot positive to say.
Right. I don't know. You never know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You never know what the X's and O's are. You never know what, you just throw the puck out there and let the players go play when the other team is changing, and moving on the fly. And most people felt that Gerard Gallant got outcoached by Lindy Ruff when Lindy Ruff went into Game 3, changing a couple of players, changing the goalie, and then changing the way that they were playing on the penalty kill, I should say. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting at a Game 7 and your team doesn't show, and somebody's going to end up paying the price for it. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that's the reality of coaching here in New York. I mean, like 2 back-to-back 100-point seasons. You're thinking, that guy's great. He's going to stay. Maybe in Carolina, maybe in, Detroit, not Detroit, but maybe Colorado.
Yeah.
It's not happening here. It's not happening in Toronto. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to happen. I mean, there's too much pressure and there's too much money that is lost when you look like you did and you don't get a second series back home. Like, I think everybody felt like this was the Rangers' chance. They went all in and they got knocked out in the first round. And then, Gallant tried to explain all that, and that fell on deaf ears. I guarantee you it fell on deaf ears.
All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Just getting started on this busy Monday morning. We'll get Jerry Recco in here to give you an update, tell you about how bad baseball was here in New York yesterday.